Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Belly Up Sports Monster Mile 200 here at Dover International Raceway. My name is David Westergreen. I will be joined this evening by David Huckleberry, the producer, and Zach Evans, my co-announcer. And Zach, as we enter race number 6 here at Dover for the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. As the points situation and everything begins to come really clear, what is your kind of expectation as we hit this Dover Raceway, which can be chaotic, but it can also be one of the more like normal racetracks, I think, on this elite schedule.
That's kind of Jekyll and Hyde, right? With the Monster Mile here, Dover Motor Speedway, as it is now called. Sometimes we go to these races here; they're super clean. They get strung out. Strategy becomes a factor. Managing tires over the course of a 200 lap event, which is always challenging on this concrete high bank surface. And sometimes, look, it's narrow, it's tight. There's not a lot of room for error. Sometimes we get some attrition filled races here too. We'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, there's definitely two opportunities for the way this could go as qualifying is wrapping up right now, and we'll set your starting grid for this Monster Mile 200. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, the Zach, that this race could be um, two different types of races, and that's kind of the scary part. So we'll see what these championship contenders run into tonight from the Monster Mile. But our Ethan Racing League series here is going to be dethroned for the time being, as RC Anderson does qualify for the pole. Our Ethans, who've won 4 of the 5 races so far this season, Burrell and Stanley, respectively, will qualify second and third on tonight's grid, with Tate Lytle making his return as a new father there in P4. Matthew Weeks will start in 5th, with Jonathan Cutlip starting 6th. The Pro Edge and Pro Edge adjacent team there, 5 of the first 6 spots. Very strong runs to start for them. Chris Wright will start 7th. Tyler Fody starts 8th there for Lake Norman Motorsports as number 2 in points. Nick Indelicato will start 9th for Shift Esports, and Scott Crump rolls for 10th. David Tooker and Gavin Hibbs will round out row number 6, and we'll keep going on here. Justin Wadsworth starts in 13th. Corey Abbott will start 14th. Mike DeWalt making his, I believe, second start there in 15th, and Zachary Rogers will Chris Stouffer starts 29th. Johnny Thomas will start 30th. Gerald Campbell starts 31st. Seth Rawls starts 32nd. Justin Vandermarl starts 33rd. Josh Personette starts 34th. Michael Hosak will go from 35th. And Kyle Hanshaw starts 36th. Josh Robbins starts 37th. Richie Hearn starts 38th. Brent Jones will go from 39th. Casey Hatch will start in 40th. And the final 3 will be Mark Rabilis, Michael Goodman, and Dustin Dewar to round out your field for this Monster Mile 200. Carlos Acosta, Jess Story will go home for RK Motorsports. Unfortunate qualifying effort for them, as we had a few more of those open drivers show up, including one who will be on the pole in RC Anderson. But here, as we wrap around to begin our second pace lap of the race, we will have a moment of silence here on 9/11 for to kind of remember and keep remembrance of the events that happened 23 years ago. we will get 1 lap to go now for this Monster Mile 200 as we watch those cars roll around and considered, that moment of silence. You might have seen some special paint schemes out there tonight. Drivers were encouraged to run patriotic type paint schemes. So Ethan Burrell starting second, Gavin Hibbs and Matthew Weeks, a few others have American flags and other patriotic attire attached to their cars tonight, and kind of in remembrance of that Dover race that Dale Earnhardt Jr. won back in 2001, when all the race cars seemed to run the American flags on them coming off of the events of 9/11. So after our moment of silence, we'll get ready to go racing here and watch R.C. Anderson and Ethan Burrell lead him down to the green. And from what we understood from talking to the drivers earlier tonight, track position is going to be vitally important. This battle for the race lead on this start, maybe one of the most important of the entire night. If this race goes green, pace car is off onto pit road. R.C. Anderson leads him into the restart zone, and we are green at Dover. Ethan Burrell gets a better start than R.C. on the outside, and Burrell will cross the line first. Can he clear R.C. into turn 1? He does. Burrell leads him into turn 1. R.C. Anderson will have to fight in for second, and then the battle is back for fourth between teammates Matthew Weeks and Tate Lytle.
Indeed, the battle is on further back. You see Matthew Weeks in one of those patriotic cars you mentioned, and even Jonathan Cutlip with the American flag on that roof number for the number 5, still sporting those Home Depot colors from a couple of weeks ago at Darlington. But it's Cutlip jumping into the top 5 for now as these cars start to file into formation here at the Monster Mile.
Yep, a pretty clean start, all things considered here. Gavin Hibbs on the outside of David Tooker, right behind Nick Indelicato and Scott Crump. Crump featuring the American flag on that car. Gavin Hibbs' car running that fire department paint scheme, I believe, for the New York Fire Department. So a couple of those patriotic throwback type schemes there on those cars, as Scott Crump, utilizing that outside line, has made a bid for that 7th spot, and he's going to probably clear Chris Wright. Actually, that'll be a battle for 8th. But Scott Crump utilizing the top lane, and Zach, from what I heard tonight, the top lane is going to be an option for these drivers. Maybe not just as a defensive resource to keep drivers pinched to the bottom of the racetrack at Dover with these tight corner exits, but it will be an option later in these green flag runs as the tires wear to try and make speed using that launch down the straightaways to kind of gain that run when the tires start to wear and the car slows down.
And it's funny there. That's I won't say it's common. It seems almost 50-50. A lot of cars respond well to that here on the iRacing service, running that high line and getting that run here at Dover. Certainly some people believe that will be the case tonight, and it very well could be. I would not be surprised to see that turn out. What I'm not seeing a lot of, sometimes cars almost prefer a diamond here at Dover, and that might be something we see more, is that you get some tire wear, some tire fall off. But yeah, we'll see how those lines adjust over the course of the race.
Yeah, what I heard was the fast line was that diamond line you were talking about. Drivers hauling it off into the turns at Dover. It almost feels like you're dropping, down into a hole, basically going into these turns, and the car kind of bottoms, and then it's difficult to hold it down to the line there between that asphalt and the concrete on this racetrack, and the car kind of naturally slides up the track a little bit. And what that ends up doing is creates a tight condition that wears on that right front tire that these guys are going to end up leaning on all race long. And with a very large fuel cell tonight, these guys ought to be able to go one stop on this race. It's going to be close on that front, but it will be a massive tire wear race. You have got to conserve your tires on this car, since this race is already looking like a green flag type of race.
And the funny thing with Dover, and I didn't realize how much this was the case until looking at some of the stats going into tonight's broadcast, it's not quite Daytona, but the Belly Up Sports Cup Series, this is its 8th race at Dover. This is a very frequent stop for this series, and yet I feel like every time we come here, there's still guys trying to figure it out, no matter how many times they've raced, because that's the challenge of Dover. That's how demanding this track is.
Yes, it is. It's super demanding, and I think you'd hear that story from real life drivers. And speaking of real life drivers, we've got one in this race tonight. It's RC Anderson. He's up here battling for the race lead. He's putting a little bit of pressure on Ethan Burrell for that race lead, but Ethan is holding him off. And I did want to mention, because RC is joining SS Greenlight Racing this week at Watkins Glen. I believe very exciting, good for RC, guy who regularly frequents the Elite Racing League, and it's always cool to see somebody you've raced against online also out there on the real life racetrack.
Indeed, Mr. Anderson will be out there with the Xfinity Series this weekend on Saturday at Watkins Glen International. I believe it will be his second start of the year with SS Greenlight. Ran at, or actually his third, it looks like. He's raced a couple of the other road course. Oh no, excuse me. Third career second this season. He ran at Coda earlier this season, and in 2020 he ran at Elkhart Lake Road America. So hopefully, good luck to RC this weekend up in the Finger Lakes region of New York.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely gonna try to tune in and get a chance to watch him go. And Dover, obviously not very much of a help for Watkins Glen, but
this is not going to prepare him for Saturday at all. He's already 37 laps away from turning more laps here than he'll turn on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure he's thankful to have a respite from probably Watkins Glen preparation as we roll down the back straightaway with a little bit of smoke. And I am going to go and look and see if I can't discern who might have clonked the outside wall. It might have been Kyle Hanshaw. Maybe not. Somebody got into the outside wall back here, but I'm not seeing any damage from any of these drivers. So for now, it's still green. We're rolling. Very single file action up front, and you'll notice that Ethan Burrell, it's difficult for RC Anderson to get up there and pass Ethan Burrell. And one feature of this next gen car that everybody has talked about, complained about, mentioned is the factor of clean air. Right now, Ethan Burrell's got it on the front nose of that 37 car. There is nothing in front of him. He's able to drive the line he wants. He's able to make the corners that he needs to, and RC Anderson is stuck in the wake of that 37 car. And true in some fashion to real life that RC's car is going to be much tighter than Ethan Burrell's. It's not going to turn as well, and it's going to frustrate RC, I think, to the point of potentially overwearing the stuff on that 50 car.
That's always the challenge, right? Especially when you've got a fast race car. You want so badly to get out front, get that clean air, but you can't overdo it and put yourself in a worse position down the road, because especially as you mentioned here at Dover, the tire wear is so drastic. What you do here could really just completely undo a whole night's worth of work. So it's a balancing act. It's a tightrope walk.
Right. And how close do you push to the rear bumper of the car in front, right? If you're an RC Anderson right now running second, you've got Ethan Stanley breathing down your neck. You're sandwiched between our two superstar Ethans that are out here winning these races right now, and obviously Ethan Burrell being out in front after winning Daytona and having a dominant car at Pocono, losing that race only simply due to the disconnect from the iRacing service. Like, this is just another monster showing from those guys. RC's got to make sure he keeps the tires on this 50 car and is able to contend with Ethan Stanley and Burrell to see if he can't put an end to their reign of terror on the Elite Cup Series here.
And speaking to that tire wear, I don't necessarily want to direct the camera away, because we don't really have much of a side-by-side battle going on the track, but you're starting to see further back in the field some of those cars starting to dance on the corner exit a little bit, where they're starting to lose that right rear a little bit. I think soon we'll start even seeing that with some of these front-running guys as well as we get further and further into this run.
I just saw Justin Vandermarl clunk the outside wall coming off turn 2 a few cars back, so 80 car is okay, but just in front of him, one of the cars that is sketchy on corner exit right now is Chad Frankenfield. That car, which is a patriotically painted car that Chad has brought tonight with kicking the tires, he is struggling on corner exit. Chad started 18th, he's back to 29th. He had started to move forward before this recent drop back, and I do believe Chad has encountered, he might have been the source of the smoke that we saw on the back straightaway a few laps ago, where he had a moment there off of turn 2, because I believe that's the type of thing that's happened to Chad, and I've seen his car get snappy loose on corner exit a few times. Let's see how he managed. Yep, there it goes again. There it goes again. Chad is fighting that car.
Yeah, I think he had a little bit of contact there to really loosen it up, but it was definitely out of shape in front of Johnny Thomas and left him nowhere to go and exacerbated the issue. And there, Chad had to completely back out of it to gather it up. Johnny pretty quick on the horn to apologize, but really nowhere for that 83 car to go on corner exit of turn 2.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, the handle was already bad, I think, for Chad Frankenfield, and so then to add in the factor of Johnny trying to run closely, right, to Chad, but ultimately too close and making that contact. That was the slide that we saw, but yeah, Chad back in 38th, not where you typically see Chad Frankenfield, especially at Dover. Dover seems like a place that Chad's usually pretty adept at, but struggling early in this one, and for the league owner there.
Yeah, two-time pole winner here at Dover, has finished in the top 10 each of the last 2 Belly Up Sports Cup races here at Dover. Doesn't have a win, but 3 podium finishes over the career. But tonight, not looking good so far for Chad Frankenfield at what I'm sure he would call one of his favorite tracks.
Yeah, battle right there for Josh Robbins, Seth Rawls up closer to the front. Scott Crump and Tyler Fody are side by side coming off of turn 4. And Scott Crump does clear by Tyler Fody and take over that 7th position right behind Tate Lytle, but Scott Crump and Fody had swapped spots after Crump had bypassed Fody earlier in the event. Now Scott Crump starting to move forward, starting to utilize that outside line a good bit more than I think most of the rest of the drivers he's racing against, but this entire group right here, I don't know if they're held up or what, but they're losing time to the front runners right now. It's really cool. It's a little bit stark. Nick and Delicato and David Tooker starting to move forward, and then Tyler Fody was not very comfortable tonight going into this race. He was a little bit worried that he would qualify poorly. He qualified in the top 10, but he expressed some displeasure with the way this car drives, and ultimately he is hoping to just have a good run tonight and stay up there in the points. And I don't know if he'll be breaking the winless streak tonight. He doesn't appear to have that top-end pace that he might need.
No, but sometimes, I mean, those are the most important nights, right? When you know you don't have a winning car, but you can just fight the good fight and salvage a good points evening instead of letting it unravel. Those are the ones you tend to look back on almost as fondly as the wins sometimes.
Yeah, Tyler Fody is the kind of guy that he wants to win, right? He's I'm not sure which driver you would necessarily call like pissed. Maybe a Kyle Busch type, where unless he wins, he's pissed off. That's a Tyler Fody feature, right? But guy is also very adept at winning these championships. He's 7-time champion over a number of different elite series. Single-time champion in this Cup Series, but he's been in the Final Four just about every season. And taking advantage of a race where he doesn't necessarily have the fastest speed is one of the aspects that makes Tyler Fody one of those championship contender drivers. And he's following teammate Scott Crump right behind him. He's got 2 guys on his tail that are very hungry, Nick and Delicato and David Tooker. Neither of them are having the best of seasons right now. And
sorry, we got under control now, but Ray Bracey got a pretty good shot into the outside wall on the front stretch that time by. He's still going, we're good, but it did cost him a spot or 2. I happen to be looking in that general direction because a few cars in front of him, we've been talking about some different lines and stuff. The 8 of Josh Robin, I'm pretty sure is convinced he's at Eldora. We'll see. Now I'm talking about him. He might change lines, but no, he's running way up high on the racetrack. You're starting to see a couple of guys have seen that in the mirror and are starting to think about it, but he's committed to running that high line right now.
Yeah, Josh Robin, the first adventure up there, and you can see he's able to drive it in much deeper into the corner than those around him. And I want to say the car right in front of Robin at the moment is Trey Holmes, and it is. So Trey Holmes is in that Exalta 88 car with the patriotic stars on the side, and Robin running an entirely different line in that Mountain Man Motorsports number 8 car. He's come up from 37th starting position. This is definitely a line that is showing some pace right now, and Robin is working it to perfection as he gets alongside Trey Holmes and executes a pretty solid pass right there.
Yeah, when I first started watching it, he was basically in that group of cars behind them with Chris Stouffer and Leighton Norgard, Ray Bracey, all those guys. And you could see when they come off turn 2, the gap he was able to open before he even got to Trey Holmes. And now he's got to try to get around Jordan Owens as well. So that 8 car is rolling on the high side. Of course, the question mark is going to be, how happy are the tires about this? We'll find out over the course of a long run. But right now, he's picking them up and putting them down.
Yeah, definitely something to keep your eye on, and that was something that we knew was a possibility, was the outside lane coming in and providing some speed for these guys. And Robin clears by Jordan Owens, so who's the first car up closer to the front that tries to pick up an advantage via that outside lane? I would guess maybe a Ryan Gable, maybe a Chris Wright. Those are the types of guys that usually go up there and try to find an advantage early on. But you see Trey Holmes is already, he saw it working, so he jumped up to the outside line, followed in the tire tracks of Robin, and drove around Jordan Owens just like that.
You'll get that a lot. Guys are paying attention to that stuff. They're looking around, seeing what other guys are doing as we move a little further forward here. There's another guy running the fence. That's Gavin Hibbs in the 95, but right now Zach Rogers has the upper hand in that 1 car as they battle for, I believe that's about 12th position.
Gavin Hibbs would be a guy that I would expect to go up there and try the outside lane, but it looks like his car is not, he's not placing that car up in the outside lane. He's kind of riding that car in the outside lane. He's almost a passenger up to the outside right now. Rogers up top. That car looks a little bit more locked into the racetrack. Hibbs' car a little less.
Ryan Schold, he has kept it pointed the right direction, but he did take a slide down the front stretch and kiss the inside wall. So that tells you what kind of ride he took. He ended up collecting the inside wall. That's one thing about Dover. We haven't fortunately seen it in a drastic incident yet, but it's one of those what they call self-cleaning racetracks. If you get really out of shape on the high side, there's a very good chance your car's got to roll back to the bottom of this high banking here at Dover, and certainly that's what his car did. But again, he's still rolling in that number 4 for Little Eagle Racing as we now turn our attention here to Justin Fortner. And I was joking about this.
Oh, there it goes. You went from Little Eagle to Little Eagle, and the other Little Eagle car encountered an incident as he and Ty McIntosh make contact on corner exit of turn 4. Fortner's still backwards, but he's on the apron, and in his attempt to turn it around, the caution flag will wave.
Yeah, he really didn't have a choice there. I know it's never a good optic when you have a car that spins like that and it doesn't bring out a yellow, and then thereafter it brings out. But I mean, he had nowhere to go. He has to try and get the car pointed the right direction. He didn't do it in such a fashion that endangered anyone else on the racetrack, but it did bring him onto the racing groove in the determination of the automatic iRacing algorithm or whatever. And right here is where the caution's got to come out, because the apron's not the racing surface, which we can agree to disagree at Dover, but whatever. iRacing says so. It's not our decision. And then he was on the racing surface. Yep. But yeah.
The entire field is on their way down pit road after Justin Fortner's jaunt into the inside wall in turn 1, and there was some contact between R.C. Anderson, Ethan Stanley, Matthew Weeks, and Jonathan Cutlip on pit road entry. Then those guys get slowed down to 35 or 40 miles an hour, I think. Very, very slow pit road here at Dover, and we'll watch from pit road exit on our Whiplash cams and see how the race off pit road looks. But the advantage is going to be to the guys at the very front of pit road who don't have to pull out. They can just go straight. Ethan Burrell is going to win that race off pit road.
And Dover is absolutely one of the toughest pit roads, both in the real world and here in the sim, as far as how narrow it is, how slow it is. The entry in particular is very challenging under green flag circumstances. May not be the last time we see a pit road incident tonight.
Looks like one of the only cars sitting there on pit road behind as we watch the whole field stream off. It's Ray Bracey from that right front damage that you noted him catching that outside wall on the front straightaway. But as we get the field all bunched up here, we'll go ahead and run our ads under caution, and we'll be back for our sponsor reads and the restart.
Flames will burn and sparks will fly at the NHRA Midwest Nationals, September 27th through 29th at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Kickoff race weekend in style with 2 qualifying sessions in one day, plus the can't-miss show of Nitro Under the Lights on Friday, September 27th. Get tickets at WWTRaceway.com with kids 12 and under free and general admission. The NHRA Midwest Nationals, September 27th through 29th at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we are live once again at the Monster Mile 200 for the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. You'll notice there's a prominent member of this top 5 missing at the moment. It is current NASCAR Xfinity driver R.C. Enerson, who ended up speeding on pit road, but it was not speeding of his own accord. RC was at 35 miles an hour entering pit road, but contact from a couple cars behind him kind of catapulted him forward and wound up giving him a penalty that ultimately I think the race control could not overturn. So frustrating break for RC Enerson. Based on that contact entering pit road, he will be restarting 40th. Pace car drops to the apron. We will go back racing on lap 44 coming to 45. Ethan Burrell and Ethan Stanley on the front row in the Ethan Cup Series. The green flag is out, and the Pro Edge cars on the bottom of the racetrack get a big jump. Ethan Burrell and Matthew Weeks go to the front of this field. Ethan Stanley settles into third. It'll be fourth, battling for fourth between Tate Lytle and Jonathan Cutlip.
Down the backstretch, you see those front 3. Well, I say front 3 breaking out, but here comes Ethan Stanley to the inside of Matthew Weeks in that battle for second. Here they come off turn 4. I think Weeks is going to be able to muscle back around on the outside.
Outside lane's the way you want to defend those positions to out here tonight. And Tate Lytle now gets a run on Ethan Stanley. He jumps to the outside lane in the 56 car, the new dad. Tate Lytle trying to go out there and get a win. He's got the position on Ethan Stanley this time. He should clear Ethan Stanley on corner exit here, and he will. Give it to Tate Lytle for P3. Pro Edge, 1, 2, 3 there tonight. And now Jonathan Cutlip working on Ethan Stanley for fourth.
Housekeeping note, racing incident no tally. The ruling on race control there, you see it on the screen for the incident that brought out that caution on lap 40. On your screen, you still see the battle. Tyler Fode, Jonathan Cutlip trying to stay in that top 5.
And then single file behind these guys and all the way back to about 15th spot where Jeff Green and Chris Wright are side by side. That's the one that might result in some action here because these guys are battling kind of furiously for that 15th spot. Green running that top lane, Ty McIntosh following him through. Chris Wright once again, second restart in a row for our 7th place qualifier. Chris Wright just kind of stuck on the bottom, guys, just kind of getting to his outside, getting to his right rear quarter panel and slowing him down. Right now it's Corey Abbott in that patriotic number 21, pulling that 9 car back and jumping alongside and going by up on the top.
Definitely, I think now that we've seen one good thing about that early-ish yellow for a lot of these guys is they were able to come down pit road and see, okay, how much did I abuse those tires in those first 40 laps? So you guys see some guys get a little more aggressive here. Now they know, okay, you know what? I was fine with where my tire was, where it was after 40 laps. You're gonna have some guys that are like, okay, we pushed the limit a little bit. We took too big of a bite out of the cherry pie. I need to be a little bit smarter here on this run.
Right. And, we'll I think see who are the featured drivers that are going to run into that, as the battle now is between Ty McIntosh and Corey Abbott for that 15th position. Abbott jumps to the bottom of the track. Jeff Green up right in front of them as they're both on screen. Oh man, Abbott into Ty McIntosh a little bit, just kind of similar contact to the contact we saw that brought out the yellow. Ty running that top lane. Guys have been kind of washing up into him, and Ty's not giving him extra space, because that extra space would mean Ty's going to run into the fence. So pretty normal standard Dover racing, if I do say so. Oh, caution flag is out.
Caution is out. I am not sure.
PC Hatch was on the apron, but I don't think it was him.
Johnny Thomas is saying a lot of things. I haven't been able to make out what any of them are, but
there's big damage on the 20 of Mike DeWalt. Let's go to the instant replay, the Robilus photo replay, and
oh, yeah, there's Johnny. So I feel like we might be in the neighborhood.
Not yet. Maybe entering turn 3 right here. Oh, here comes the 20
here
car.
comes a huge. This is not gonna. I can already see what's happening here. This man has decided he's gonna sail it to the inside. He is not there.
And then, yeah,
he has collided with Johnny Thomas. Chad Frankenfield's maybe gotta get him. Yes, he is going to get involved. And that's gotta be a huge hit. Honestly, Chad Frankenfield probably gets the worst of that.
Oh, for sure he does.
Hard hit on the right front. I would be surprised. I'm gonna have to look on my screen, but that's typically the kind of thing that results in he does have a meatball.
Yeah, Chad got all of the worst of that incident there. Johnny Thomas's car not particularly damaged. Did Johnny even pit? He did. Johnny did come down pit road, but my goodness, a pretty bold move by rookie Mike DeWalt there, and it obviously didn't work out. Mike's already been hit with the tally there, and I can't say I'm terribly surprised by that one. That seems like a pretty easy call for Robert Hill in race control.
And I can tell you also, like, I'm pretty sure race control was seeing it as it happened. You know when the graphic popped up on the screen, but I don't even know that the field had caught up to the pace car yet, and it was already being announced in the driver's chat that the 20 car would receive the tally for that. So pretty clear-cut one as they come.
Yeah, that's a bold, aggressive move. Maybe you can make that move with 10 or 15 to go with a better run out of turn 2, but lap 50 in a race, it's a little early for stuff like that, and ultimately, yeah, we see the results. So let's go ahead and run our Whiplash Cams ad while we have a chance to here under caution, and we'll come back. We'll try to get you some ad reads before hopefully another long green flag run. Perfect timing as the restart hits, and Ethan Burrell gets the big jump on Matthew Weeks at the front row. Tate Lytle clears through into second. And Tyler Fode, Matthew Weeks battle it out for third. Ethan Stanley got caught up in that outside lane. He'll drop back. Up front, Ethan Burrell continues to lead. He has led every one of our laps.
12 cars involved.
12 car is already disconnected from the service. No, yeah, he already towed.
I don't think that car was driving away. It went head on into the wall here in turn 3. We'll get a look at the Rebelus replay machine here to see exactly what happened. By the time I saw it, he was pointed to the wall. It looks like contact with, is that Justin Vandermarl?
It sure is. And then Schuld into the 80 again. Norgaard's trying to save it, and then that car's going to snap back. Brent Jones watches his teammate go head first into the fence. Oh, and Dustin Dewar gets a piece of it as well.
And then Dusty's got to spin down the track and collect the 14 of Casey Hatch as well. And Casey Hatch, it caught him right on that right front, so that's also a meatball. It wasn't even that hard of a hit, but it caught him in that sweet spot. You know how those toe links are on these cars, both in the sim and in real life. It's a tough break there for Casey Hatch as well.
That wreck reminds me of a truck series wreck from about 2010, 2011 or so. It was the Supercross driver Ricky Carmichael.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, that's about the exact spot where he hit the wall in middle of turn 3, about the same angle too. And Leighton Norgaard winds up with the worst end of the straw, and he's probably going to end up with the worst finish of the night for these drivers. I don't envision that 12 car is going to be drivable anytime soon.
Definitely a tough break for a Leighton, and for all those drivers involved. And, you know, we talked about this leading up, right? You know, it can go either way here at Dover. We got that 40-lap green flag run to start. Now we've had a couple of cautions kind of bunched together here. There we see the tally will go to the 80 of Justin Vandermarl. Hopefully we'll be able to get this tidied up a little bit here. Just a housekeeping note, since Dave did mention, I would be remiss if I didn't make this slight correction for our sponsor plug for our friends at.
Did I get the weekend wrong?
The Midwest Nationals are, I believe, 2 weekends away. I'm pulling up the website now. I can tell you it's not next weekend, because next weekend they're going to be in my neck of the woods at ZMAX Dragway. So it is Maple Grove this weekend, ZMAX Dragway next weekend, September 27th to 29th is your NHRA Midwest Nationals at the end of the month. So if you're in the area, be sure.
I was just going to go there a week early and park there and just wait.
Be sure to head over to Worldwide Technology Raceway for the NHRA Midwest Nationals as part of the countdown to the championship in NHRA.
Who's winning the championship in the NHRA right now, Zach?
Well, so the good news about that is they just started their version of the playoffs. I don't even think, so Maple Grove this weekend will actually be the start of the playoffs. Doug Kalita's leading in top fuel, Austin Prock in funny car, Dallas Glenn in pro stock, and Gage Herrera has been taking up to the woodshed all season long in pro stock motorcycle. I'll be shocked, even with their countdown format, if anybody can unseat him on the 2-seater. But we'll see.
I love it. Yeah, I'm not a huge drag racing buff, but I do recognize Scott Kalita. He's been around there for a long time. Doug Kalita.
Doug.
Scott, his brother, that ended up cracking around. I knew I'd heard the Kalita.
Yeah. One to green.
That's a dour note to switch back to the Belly Up Sports Series. But Ethan Burrell, Tate Lytle, Matthew Weeks, the Pro Edge trio of Toyotas running 1, 2, 3 right now. Then right in front of a Lake Norman duo of Tyler Fode and Ethan Stanley. Jonathan Cutlip sits in 6th for Fueled Up Racing, and then it's another Pro Edge Toyota and another Lake Norman Chevy with David Hooker and Scott Crump there making up our top 8. So much of the regular season has been to this point, it's all about whether or not you can unseat these Pro Edge and Lake Norman drivers. They are very quick at just about every racetrack we go to, and it certainly seems like it's going to continue along that way throughout this one as Ethan Burrell continues to lead and the pace car does roll to the apron. Burrell getting a pretty sizable gap on Matthew Weeks. Weeks might try to jump it a little bit and help his teammate out. Nah, Burrell just got a really big jump on everybody.
Indeed, back underway, back out front for Ethan Burrell. Behind them, you'll see the side-by-side. Matthew Weeks clears out to second. Ethan Stanley, Tate Lytle side-by-side for third. Boy, I thought they might get a piece of the wall there, but did not.
Stanley knows he's got to fight into this top three if he wants a chance at, what, those that 4 wins in a row? If the 4 of 5, oh, Stanley into Tate Lytle. Not enough. Tate holds strong for third. Now it's a battle between those Lake Norman Chevys for fourth, and then it's Tooker and Cutlip side by side for that 6th spot.
And there you'll see the intensity starting to pick up a little bit on this restart. Guys know as we get further and further in this race how important the track position will be. Still not to halfway yet, but we saw how hard it was to pass on that green flag run. Huge lunge here from David Tooker to the inside Tyler Fody.
Yep, inside just doesn't seem to be the way to make the moves. You saw the 19 car get a little bit loose on corner exit. Now he fires it in once again, going against Tyler Fody, but Fody with that strong outside lane through turn 3 and 4 should hold strong and does at the line, but Tooker's in a good spot right here. He's about as good as you can get on that bottom lane fighting against that car up top.
And of course, Jonathan Cutlip just trying to figure out where he needs to go to get around these guys. Now, Matthew Weeks, I guess he's decided, you know what, that's probably not worth it on the tires. We're just going to slot back in here and fall into the 7th position. We'll try this again later.
So right in front of Nick and Delicato goes David Tooker after making a bid for that 5th spot against Tyler Fody. He ultimately falls a little bit short, winds up back there in 7th. Then it's in Delicato, Crump, and Gavin Hibbs. And Hibbs making that run after Scott Crump for that 10th spot there, that 9th spot. I don't think that's going to work. Kind of in the same vein that the Tooker move didn't work.
You know, we talked about, obviously, the night has not gone the way he hoped, but Chad Frankenfield and his success at Dover. Cutlip's another guy, admittedly much fewer starts in the Cup Series, hasn't been around as long, but 4th and 5th in his 2 starts here in Dover, and right now he's hanging around that 6th position. He's been the top 5 all night. He'll probably factor into the end of the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cutlip's a guy that the Lake Norman guys pointed at to on top of the obvious triumvirate that are 1, 2, 3 right now, as the guy they're definitely got their eye on as a potential competitor for the race win here, and Cutlip is going to need a race win, I think, in order to lock himself into the playoffs. I do want to note that the elite playoffs, as Matthew Weeks bids for the lead underneath Ethan Burrell, are the top 12 in points. And then we take 2 wild cards that have won that are not top 12 in points. So it's not a win in your in situation, but for a guy like Jonathan Cutlip, so far down in points, a win is almost as good as a win in your in scenario for a guy like that, especially with really just 2 guys winning just about all the races so far this season.
Right, you know the Ethans are not going to need those wild card spots, right? They're going to point their way in. So you want to get yourself in at least the queue, the line, to be in one of those wild card spots. As we watch this battle for the lead continue, Ethan Burrell seems pretty comfortable in that outside line, and we've already talked about how hard it is to make that pass work on the inside. Matthew Weeks has got to have his work cut out, but Tate Lytle is starting to enter the chat.
Tate, our winner at Pocono. And these 3 ran just like this at Pocono, too. Remember that. I mean, those guys were 1, 2, 3 the entire night. As we take a look at our schedule, 4 of the 5 wins so far this season completed by Ethans, and those guys are running 1st and 4th at the moment. It's been a remarkably excellent season for both of them, even though Ethan Burrell's results haven't quite been as strong as Ethan Stanley. Stanley, obviously, the points leader, and by a considerable margin given the 3 wins. Burrell's the first one, though, get up there and try that outside lane. You can see the advantage it has on the front straightaway, but he gives up a lot of time in the middle of the corner when he goes up that high. And yeah, even though the results aren't quite as good as you would want if you're Ethan Burrell, still a very strong start to the season. a lot of momentum in his favor, and really he's a disconnection at Pocono from being equal to Ethan Stanley in win. No, I said not equal. Stanley's got a third.
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, they've kind of had the stranglehold on the season so far here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. And you mentioned the connection thing. I will say, I hope I'm not jinxing it. Well, I say that now. I see Trey Holmes did have a drop in return, but it feels like some of those issues we've seen the last couple of weeks have not been as prevalent tonight. So hopefully we're getting on the other side of that weird little bubble we ran through to start the season.
Yeah, although Trey Holmes being one of those fueled up racing drivers, they had the issues at Daytona and another issue here tonight, and Cutlip had an issue at Texas as well. So yeah, it's just not gone well for fueled up racing, but ultimately, you know, Cutlip running well, it hasn't really happened to him since, and hopefully the Gremlins stay away from Ethan Burrell as they do go around Trey Holmes right there on the apron as he tries to get back in this race several laps down. I just want to go ahead and make an update as R.C. Anderson tries to work back from that speeding penalty we discussed earlier. He is 17th. His carve through the field has been pretty speedy. He's not encountering a whole lot of resistance right now as R.C. Anderson. He drives around Zach Rogers for that 16th spot. 50 car looks very quick. He is definitely going to be a factor if he can get back up to the front.
Yeah, I think we didn't quite get to it in time, but the thing with that Zach Rogers move, I mean, he drove it to the bottom. We've talked about how hard it is to make that pass work, but he was able to get down to the bottom. And admittedly, Zach Rogers didn't put up much of a fight, but there you see Anderson again going to the bottom here against Gerald Campbell, who definitely showed a little more resistance. But I think Anderson has the pace. He can make that work if he can get the run off the corner.
And that's the tough part, right, is how do you get the run off the corner on the bottom lane when at Dover you've got to use most of that racetrack in order to drive up to the wall and gain that momentum from the bottom as Gable and McIntosh making contact just in front of this group.
And you saw the tire smoke.
Gable just got a little bit loose trying to go up underneath Ty McIntosh. He's running 12th right now. Gable is 13th. Those guys, teammates in other series, they work pretty well together. Certainly just a little bit of friendly fender rub from a couple of friends on that one. But yeah, Anderson, you know, that bottom lane stalling out a little bit now for RC as those tires wear, and these guys running that outside lane start to get in a rhythm and utilize that momentum better.
There you see Gable trying to get back into the rhythm here in front of Jeff Green in that number 2 car.
Jeff Gerald, obviously one of our announcers, as we go on board with Ryan Gable. Gable gets a big run on Ty McIntosh. Both cars get loose coming off of turn 4. Gable has to back out of it, and that might open the door for Jeff up top, but Gable's going to try to slam the door.
All this taking place outside the top 10. Around Gable is showing in 13th position right now. To give a point of reference here for folks watching along here on the Elite Racing Network, you see just ahead of that Justin Wadsworth battling with, I believe that was Gavin Hibbs. That would be a battle for the 10th position.
Yep, Hibbs' car starts to go away. I think Hibbs overdrives the right front tire just a teensy bit. So here comes Gable down to the inside on Ty McIntosh. It's Lake Norman versus Shift here for that top 10 spot. Wadsworth working to the inside. He's got a really good run on Hibbs. I think give it to Justin Wadsworth, and Gable was so good through the center of the corner that time that Gavin Hibbs is going to be alongside Gable now. Ty McIntosh is going to lose a spot out of this. And now Gable is clear of Hibbs.
And now he wants to get gone because Jeff Green, he kind of got stuck behind all of that. That was the guy that Gable was fighting with before, but here comes Hibbs. Can he cross back under and get that spot back?
I don't think so. And then getting on the inside might open up to the door to the outside for his teammate Ty McIntosh, and it will. Gavin Hibbs starting to struggle, and by the way, all that stack up opened the door for R.C. Anderson. He's now side by side with Jeff Green just behind this group.
R.C. Anderson still on the charge. You see him pulling in front of Jeff Green. That's going to put him up to the 14th position. And now he's got to set his sight on Gavin Hibbs as Hibbs' free fall through the field continues.
Oh, Jesse Racimus loose off corner exit there in turn 4 just behind this group. A big battle right here as R.C. Anderson has risen to 14th. Got through Gerald Campbell, got through Jeff Green. Sight set now on the Shift Esports trio of Gavin Hibbs and Ty McIntosh duo, rather.
Right now you see number 1 and number 2 in the program, number 15 and number 16 on the leaderboard. Jeff Green trying to work his way. He'll get in front of Zach Rogers. Gerald Campbell will now set his sights on that one machine.
Zach, I think he's been trying to take care of the tires. You saw him let RC go a little bit earlier, and he's kind of just in a rhythm running this outside lane. Ultimately, though, when you're running a rhythm, his set gets into Gerald.
What a save from Gerald there.
Oh, and Gerald pulls it down to the inside, lets some of these guys go, tries to get back in the groove. What a save by Gerald Campbell, announcer extraordinaire.
Yeah, the tires are going to be really upset now. He's got to be real careful not to end up in a position where he gets hit from behind. Almost happened there, but really incredible that Gerald Campbell was able to keep that car pointed the right direction, all things considered.
Yeah, what a great save. Oh, we got more contact into Mike DeWalt. Was that a caution? I don't think DeWalt spun.
No caution.
Stold got into him. This stack up is kind of accordioned from the battle between RC, Hibbs, and everybody up near the front. It accordioned all the way back here to 26th spot. And that's just how Dover works, right? Is as soon as somebody gets out of the rhythm, as soon as somebody starts to struggle, even the slightest amount, the drivers behind sniff it out, pounce on him. Now all of a sudden you're racing your competitors, not the racetrack. Somebody makes a mistake, another mistake gets made, There Ryan Schultz gets the wall, and it accordions all the way back, bunches everybody up, creates scenarios where people get into wrecks, have to make great saves. Very typical Dover, but it's good Dover racing. Oh, Schultz gets sideways, and Schultz in the inside wall. Is that going to bring out the caution? He didn't get turned around.
No, it's not going to bring out the caution, but I'm not sure it didn't break some of the steering on that car.
Yeah, there's 3 wide on the back straightaway between Johnny Thomas, Ray Bracey, and Mike DeWalt. Johnny thought better of it. Kind of showed Mike DeWalt what for right there as he backs out of a potential 3 wide move on the 20 car. And Bracey clears by. That was almost a really big moment, which is why I drew to it.
Now Johnny Thomas going to look to the inside of Mike DeWalt going through turns 1 and 2.
DeWalt ends up letting him go.
Yep.
Christopher is going to get a tally for that incident with Ryan Schultz on the front straightaway, and the second of our Little Eagle cars, actually the third of our Little Eagle cars to have a big issue tonight. That has not been a good. It has not been a good night for that team. As we jump to the battle between Jesse Racimus and Seth Rawls, that is for the 17th position. Up in the midfield, in the middle of the top 10, with all this heavy battling near wrecks and stuff going on in that midfield that we've been covering. Ethan Burrell and bypassing Scott Crump, Jonathan Cutlip, and David Tooker. So that battle is starting to heat up again because Indelicato is going after Tyler Fode for that 5th position.
And there you see there is Nick Indelicato, Tyler Fode, as they race side by side. Behind them, Scott Crump, Jonathan Cutlip, side by side. So 2 by 2 here in the neighborhood of the top 5.
Yep, 5th on back right here. Tyler Fode has it. Nick Indelicato wants it. Scott Crump trying to get involved and try to help his teammate, defend that top 5 position. Jonathan Cutlip trying to hold on, and Cutlip with a big run down the front straightaway, clears by Scott Crump. This group singles out for now. But Indelicato's been quick. That 10 car has really stepped it up. He's very strong at Dover. In my experience with Nick Indelicato at Dover, we ran for it. Oh, he gets into Tyler Fode a little bit there on corner entry, and Tyler Fode's a notorious, I won't call him a blocker, a notorious defender, right? He runs in such a way that it just makes you make a very bold move. There's no other way to pass Tyler Fode. You've gotta do it on his terms, and he's not gonna wreck you, he's not gonna run into you, but boy will he make it frustrating to go by.
And you talk about bold move. That was a pretty bold dive into turn 3 from Nick Indelicato. No contact, but he really buried it in there. Didn't quite get the run off, but that's kind of the move you're talking about, right? You're gonna have to do something out of the norm to get the advantage on Tyler Fode in this situation, because Fode's in that preferred line for defense on the high side.
Right, and that's where he loves to live. And now you're going to stream around the lapped car of Casey Hatch, We saw him run into that issue earlier in the night with contact in the big wreck that I believe was the wreck between Mike DeWalt and Chad Frankenfield and Johnny Thomas. Actually, that might have been the Norgard wreck. Ooh, Cutlip sent it in just a little too deep. Scott Crump's underneath him, and he almost got into the back bumper of Indelicato. Indelicato wiggles it off turn 2.
This battle continues on. You see Scott Crump now to the inside of Jonathan Cutlip. But again, it's so hard to make that inside work. It's actually got to hurt Scott Crump. He's got to fall back into the grasp of David Tucker here. And I don't know, he might end up at the just behind this entire line altogether before it's all said and done.
That's right. Crump may just end up falling back to 9th. You can see teammate Ryan Gable starting to get through there.
Yeah, I was about to say, if I'm him, I'd want to get up there before Ryan Gable gets there, because all he's doing is holding himself up right now. If he lets that next pack get there, he could lose several more spots, because as soon as Ryan gets there, then you know it's got to be 2 or 3 cars lined up again. Justin Wadsworth has got to try to get by. Gavin Hibbs, who has kind of recovered from his earlier struggle, has got to try to get by. This is a really precarious spot for Scott Crump, but he is not giving up the fight.
No, he is not. Yeah, Scott Crump is willing to fight it out, especially with David Tucker right here. And he's not clear, but Scott sends it in there anyway. Really working hard, trying to get by David Tucker, trying to keep alongside, but ultimately he will have to settle in behind the 19 car back in 9th spot. And up front here of this group, Tyler Fode now encountering the lapped vehicle of Chad Frankenfield. So the right front damage hurting that 15 car pretty drastically, and this group will stream on by Chad. So a difficult night for Chad Frankenfield as we do hit halfway. Ethan Burrell collects a playoff point. He has led the whole way.
Tough night for Chad Frankenfield as he is a lap down at this point, but there you see Ethan Burrell picking up that halfway point at the end of lap 100, still leading the way in that number 37 for Pro Edge.
Another remarkable night from Ethan Burrell. Not only is he leading, he has pulled a 1-second gap on Matthew Weeks. He's pulled a 4-second gap on Tate Lytle. The leader has an advantage, but he's in lap traffic now. Like the advantage is not as prevalent as it was before. And Ethan Burrell's still turning fantastic lap times. The 37 car looks fast. It's in the racetrack. It's a dominant performance thus far from Ethan Burrell. But we've seen this before, right? We've seen this story before. At Pocono, he did almost exactly this. Had a moment where he was well back in the field, and in like 2 laps, he drove all the way to the race lead. Burrell's got another gear right now, and he's able to pull it out whenever he wants to. For now, he can just ride. Conserve the car, conserve the tires, plan out when that final pit stop is going to be, and try to hope that this thing goes green to the end, and there'll be no more shenanigans to potentially harm the potential finish of that 37.
Back in that battle we were watching earlier, well, I say that Jonathan Cutlip tucked right back in line, but he was about to be in a role reversal. Now they've kind of flipped back to how we saw them earlier. Scott Crump to the inside of Jonathan Cutlip for a moment.
Loose.
Yeah, and at one point, Crump had the high side kind of and was trying to work his way through this. Now you see he's back on the low side, and then he got loose there. And that's going to cost him a couple of these spots I was afraid he would lose earlier.
Yep, you did kind of hit the nail on the head. That Crump working that inside line winds up costing him some extra time as now his teammate Justin Wadsworth tries to work to the outside, but it looks like Wadsworth going to check up and give Crump a break, let him get in that outside lane so that Crump can cool the tires down on that 90 car and get back in that rhythm. For now, though, this pack was ballooned from 4 cars to 7 cars, and it might go balloon even further if Jeff Green and RC Anderson can get here in a few laps. They're about 2 or 3 seconds behind this group, but the way they're racing, they could slow down again here pretty shortly and pretty easily and allow that group to catch up to them.
We say that we'd give him a chance to cool off the tires, but he seems pretty committed to that low line, even here where he's single file. I think that's just where he wants to be, for better or worse. And now Justin Wadsworth has got to try to take that away from him and try to pass him on the inside. Now I'm almost curious if, with the commitment Scott Crump has shown to that bottom, if we're going to almost see the opposite situation here, where maybe he doesn't feel comfortable running that top, and maybe that is the way for Justin Wadsworth to get by. I don't know. It's an odd situation going on here with the 90 car.
Yeah, Crump's fallen kind of further back than I think he would want to be right now. He's back in 10th, but he's the kind of driver that considers he's got a race winning pace right here. He just needs to be up there. So Crump's gonna fight this tooth and nail for sure and try and defend, especially against Gavin Hibbs, but at the very least against teammate Justin Wadsworth. And those guys are going to try to sort out who's going to be the foremost Lake Norman driver is Chad Frankenfield. With tires, driving to the bottom, he's going to try to get underneath Scott Crump right here, and it's going to be very uncomfortable for these guys as Chad drives on by.
Yeah, Chad Frankenfield did pit for tires. Now he's 3 laps down. We saw him a few laps ago lose that first lap. He took that as his opportunity to come down pit road. That hurts a lot, pitting under green flag at Dover, that 35-mile-per-hour speed limit. As we mentioned, he lost 2 laps doing it, but now he has a really fast race car. He's Superman right now with those fresh tires.
He sure is, and we're seeing other guys make the trek down pit road. Chris Wright is one of those, trying to short pit this, gain some track position. Gable sideways. I pulled us away right at the worst time as Gable gets loose on the back straightaway, almost collides with teammate Justin Wadsworth. He's still loose. Ryan Gable is starting to run into that car, becoming a handful in the 0-1.
And Justin Wadsworth, he did end up getting around Scott Crump like we were talking about. Now he's got to try to pass Ryan Gable. He's got to clear him. I mean, that was just power right there. Dropping to the bottom and clearing him before they ever got to corner exit. Big move there from Justin Wadsworth. Move him up to the 9th position.
Yep. Wadsworth has working his way forward, showing some of that pace that he is kind of working towards with Lake Norman. He finished 2nd at Darlington. He's had a pretty good season, but I think Justin Wadsworth wants more. And up front, Tyler Fode's about to get boxed in behind a lapped car here. Chad Frankenfield got underneath him. David Tooker's now underneath. Tyler Fode's 3 wide in turn 3, trying to hold off David Tooker. Tooker tried to take advantage of Fode being in a bad spot. He will not be able to do so. Another good defense by Tyler Fode. He's, rather easily the best defender in this series, but have you seen anybody pass that 40 car when he didn't allow them to? I just can't recall.
We haven't seen a lot of it for sure, and right now he's holding off that 19 car of David Tooker at the moment, still maintaining his position here in the running order. Fode, of course, running 5th at the moment. So I'm telling you, we've talked about it time and time again tonight, just how tough it is to pass that 40 car, and we saw it again there.
Not even just tonight. We talked about it since last season. When Gerald and I were in the booth, and you were with us a little bit, a couple of races, but every oval race down the stretch, Tyler Fode would be sitting somewhere 3rd, 4th, 5th, and maybe defending via saving tires. Maybe he was just trying to hold on to the spot, but it just seemed like Matthew Weeks struggled to pass him. Everybody struggled to pass him. Right now, David Tooker, the one under fire, but the guy moving forward is behind David Tooker, and that's Justin Wadsworth. Wadsworth just went around Cutlip. He went around in Delicado. The 6 car is flying right now.
I'd love to see a 6 car with some long run pace. Not to toot my own horn, but that's kind of what I like to try and make happen when I'm behind the wheel. And loving to see that from Justin Wadsworth at the moment. We'll see if he can close in on these 2 guys in front of him.
He was about their same pace the last lap through. He's running pretty strong lap times, though. The fastest car on the racetrack that last time by was...
3 wide, McCutlip and Gable.
Oh, boy.
Chris Wright had those fresh tires that was able to get by, but he had them 3 wide for a little bit on corner exit.
Oh, Gable! Gable! Into the inside wall. He spins down the back straightaway. Will he come back on the racetrack? No. Ryan Gable brings out the yellow flag. Number 4, I believe, on the evening. And the long run ends. Chris Wright and Chad Frankenfield did not want to see that.
No, they did not.
And I believe this will be the last time the field needs to come down pit road. You'll see everybody on pit road, and let's take a look at what happened on the back straightaway. I thought Gable just got loose there on corner exit when he slid up in front of, you can see that car's already just a little bit loose. He's already sawing at the wheel, and it's going to slide down and hit the inside wall.
Yeah, we'd need another angle. There might not have even been contact there. There might have been. I don't know. We'll have to take another look, but it's hard to tell from that angle whether Ryan was just loose or he got loose and that led to contact. Tally to the 0-1 is what we're hearing from race control. I'm sure that will pop up on the screen shortly. Yeah, I don't think. Certainly, he's already out of shape here. I don't know that Cutlip ever gets into him. Maybe right here. I don't think so.
No, I don't. I think Jonathan Cutlip never touched him. A classic case of that car just jumping loose on corner exit, and it's a tough break for Ryan Gavel, but it's tough racing. I'm sure the tires were a little bit bad on that 0-1 at that point. He had been running the top quite a bit, and he's going to try to fix some of the damage on the left side of that 0-1 car here, and stay on pit road and get all that taken care of. We watched the field stream off. Ethan Burrell was the first off pit road, followed by Matthew Weeks, Tate Lytle, Ethan Stanley, and Tyler Fody. So they exit just as they came in.
Yeah, top 5 pretty much hold serve there on that trip down pit road.
All right. Well, why don't we take another quick break here on the caution flag? We'll run our ads one more time and get us back for the green flag for our final 80 circuits around Dover Speedway.
Flames will burn and sparks will fly at the NHRA Midwest Nationals, September 27th through 29th at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Kickoff race weekend in style with 2 qualifying sessions in one day, plus the can't-miss show of Nitro Under the Lights on Friday, September 27th. Get tickets at WWTRaceway.com with kids 12 and under free and general admission. The NHRA Midwest Nationals, September 27th through 29th at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Back live here at the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. Belly Up Sports Cup Series action under caution for the 4th time this evening. I believe we'll be getting the 1 to green this time by. We'll find out for sure as the field passes by old Barney into flag stand. Maybe not.
I think they are. I think they just...
Oh, yeah, I see. I was looking at the wave around cars that are passing by. Obviously, those guys that had already pitted: Chad Frankenfield, Josh Robin, Chris Wright, Michael Goodman, and Dustin Dewar opting for the wave around here. Now the leaders will form up double file behind the iRacing Pace vehicle.
I think this could get a little bit hectic. These guys are strapping fresh tires on for probably the last time today, at least at the front of the field. Now is a good time to pick up some spots. Everybody's grouped together. That aggression may lead to some further chaos.
That's definitely the concern. We'll see how it all plays out here. Can they get back to that green flag racing, or is old Miles the Monster about to take a bite out of some of these guys' chances to win this evening? We will find out very shortly as they head to the restart zone now.
Pace car is off. Ethan Burrell kind of inching ahead of Matthew Weeks. He's led every lap thus far. He'll continue to lead with a big jump on the restart. Weeks spins the tires. That allows Tate Lytle to go for second. Tyler Fody trying to take advantage on the bottom of the racetrack. Stanley was all over the back bumper of Weeks, but Weeks drops in front of the Lake Norman duo, and it'll be Pro Edge 1-2-3 once again.
Down the backstretch into turn number 3, you see that top 5 or so get singled out right now. Justin Wadsworth, we talked about the speed he had. Oh, Ethan Stanley's way up the hill.
Stanley missed turn 3, drove it in a little too deep, tried to take advantage on the outside and get alongside Weeks. Did not work. Tyler Fody through to 4th. Stanley back to 5th. He will hold there. It's still a battle for 6th between Wadsworth and Tooker.
And like I was saying, we were talking about that pace Justin Wadsworth had before that caution. It looks like he's firing off just fine here as he battles with David Tooker. Not sure he's going to be able to get the run. And now they're 3 wide behind him almost.
Oh my goodness, Cutlip almost went 3 wide with Indelicato and Crump. Indelicato did get the little piece of the 90 car on corner entry. Crump still trying to gather it up, and Indelicato will go through past the 90 of Crump, but they will stay in front of Hibbs and Cutlip. Just kind of create a roadblock there, running side by side, and it opens the door for Wadsworth to pull away.
10 car of Indelicato able to clear Crump out of turn 4. Takes over that 8th position here in the running order as we close in on 70 laps to go.
Don't look now. He's on the screen just a little teensy bit, but R.C. Anderson is 12th in the 50 car. His march to the front slowed during that long green flag run. It looked like he maybe burned the tires off there trying to make up more spots, and ultimately able to strap on new tires here and running 12th. It's obviously tight in this traffic. It's going to be difficult for him to make moves. He's going to be fine right now as Corey Abbott fires underneath Jesse Racimus, looking for 15th is Corey Abbott. He'll try to get there. He will not get there this time. Racimus fights back on the outside in the do-good number 70.
A little further back, you see that's Andrew Rucker in front of Gerald Campbell. And, oh, there's tire smoke. Somebody
has binned it.
Didn't bring out a caution, but it sure looked like we saw smoke, and I thought tire tracks heading towards the inside wall of turn 3. An odd situation there.
We're clean and green.
Yeah.
Rucker and Fortner still side by side. Gerald Campbell looking on. So is Christopher and Ray Bracey. Mike DeWalt as well. We've got the rookie points. We might want to pull them up here. Mike DeWalt and Ray Bracey are going to be the guys fighting for that Rookie of the Year title by the end of the season, I believe. Both making their first elite starts, and the only guys that had made starts before this were Raymond Hanneman and Frank Foti. So
now Scott
there's
Crump.
There's more
Scott
smoke.
Crump.
Oh no! Scott's got left front damage. That car is broken. Scott's headed to pit road with
a meatball.
Wow. Let's take a look at what happened to Scott Crump. I'm wondering if it's a similar issue to what happened with Ryan Gable.
Yep. Got loose out of turn.
Oh no, his teammate Wadsworth got the wall.
Oh. And right there's the hit on the right, or excuse me, the left front that would have done the damage and ended Scott Crump's shot at a win.
Man, Crump has really not had a great start to the season. I think he's in playoff contention, but a 40-some-odd place finish here tonight, that is not going to help this 90 car make the playoffs. As we roll back to the up front, it looks like Justin Wadsworth's car not terribly impacted. He still runs 8th in front of Cutlip and Hibbs side by side behind. Or, well, single file behind. Cutlip's going after Wadsworth. Wadsworth's making a move, so it looks like the 6 car might be okay, but his teammate Scott Crump's car, not all right.
No, and unfortunately that's one of those situations where it's really easy to beat yourself up, especially when it collects a teammate, but you've really got to put your head down and just try to make the best of the situation, right? You can talk with Scott afterwards and hash it out. Get the apologies in order. Right now, you've still got a race to score as many points as possible.
Yep. And right now, Wadsworth not in a good spot, right? Made that dive on Indelicato. It did not work. And now Cutlip up the outside. He's going to clear by Wadsworth. Hibbs and R.C. Anderson both with a chance to jump up into the top 10 and go around the 6 car, which is a little bit damaged. But Wadsworth with a really good run in turn 2. He's able to hold off Gavin Hibbs for now. There is a 2-second gap from Jesse Racimus in 15th back to Jordan Owens in 16th. That is a really sizable margin as Matthew Weeks bypasses Tate Lytle. Looks like a little bit of teamwork going on there. Weeks was much faster than Lytle on those first couple of long runs, so I think this is a, hey, if you can go up there and be the first person to go around Ethan Burrell, you do it, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. As you see right now, that battle between Andrew Rucker and Ty McIntosh on your screen.
This is like 3 seconds behind even 15th spot. So battle is for 18th between Rucker and McIntosh. Looks like Rucker will get it for now. McIntosh tries to jump to the high lane. Justin Fortner drives to the bottom for the, well, I guess, last remaining Little Eagle car.
Oh,
Rucker was loose in front.
Big wiggle there from Justin Fortner as well.
The battle remains around this Wadsworth-Hibbs area, and R.C. Anderson has entered the top 10. He is back up to 9th. The 50 car has finally gotten to a place where the lost track position maybe not quite as invaluable, and Anderson's going to need a few more cautions, I think, in order to get back to a chance at the race win here, but he might be the only guy who has a shot at Ethan Burrell right now.
Getting down to the, we're inside of 60 laps to go here in the Monster Mile 200 as we watch Justin Wadsworth, Gavin Hibbs consider a battle. That's for the 10th position. There you see Zach Rogers. He's got to take a peek on Jeff Green just behind them as well. They've been around each other quite a bit here over the last 50 laps or so.
Just in front of Corey Evan and Jesse Racimus. We saw them side by side a little bit earlier. This whole group, they've got about 2 seconds on that group we did just see between Rucker and Ty McIntosh and them. So these guys, if they can stay single file, they'll probably stay pulled away from that other group. But the minute they start fighting amongst themselves, I think they'll pull that group behind right back up to them.
You know, not for nothing. We've kind of touched on this a couple of times already, but R.C. Anderson, he's up to the 9th position, continuing that drive back through the field after that speeding penalty, and I think he might be closing in on Jonathan Cutlip and Nick Indelicato in front of it.
I believe he is absolutely doing that. RC is really fast right now, and yeah, you can see he's making up almost 2/10 a lap there on the 5 car, but as he gets close, much to the lovely construction of this next gen car, as soon as he gets in the wake, as Indelicato just smacked the wall. Cutlip's going to get by. Anderson might even get by this 10 car.
Oh, huge wreck on the backstretch.
Oh.
Still no caution, but I believe it was definitely a shift car that I saw. Maybe Seth Rawls that just slammed the inside wall.
Yep, Rawls is still crawling around on the apron. The left front is completely destroyed on this 25 car. Looked like there might have been some contact from Mike DeWalt. Nope, Seth was loose.
No, he was loose.
Car got there.
Yep. Yeah, nowhere for the 20 to go, and right here it's just a massive hit.
Yep. Had the 20 got there first, that might have been his race over. He does have the 1 tally, but no, I believe that's going to end up being on Seth, and an unfortunate result for the 25, who is pretty high up in points. He's had some very good results this season. Was racing for the top 5 last week at Watkins Glen.
Now you see there's the leader, Ethan Burrell, as we close in on 50 laps to go. R.C. Anderson has gotten around Jonathan Cutlip. And now, battle for second. Well, no, that isn't a battle for second. That's Chad Frankenfield.
I was going to say Chad got lapped. He cost Matthew Weeks 3/10 this lap alone. Just from being in front of him. Giving him the dirty air there. Allowed Tate Lytle to be caught by Tyler Fody and Ethan Stanley. And if Fody and Stanley want to get Pro Edge off of sweeping the podium, they are going to have to put some pressure on Tate Lytle, because they've had a stranglehold on it the entire race so far, and you know those Lake Norman guys would really love to get their blows in on the broadcast a little bit. Unfortunately, it has just been a rough night for anybody that is not driving one of those Pro Edge Toyotas.
As we watch this group of cars work its way around, well, I say that, and then Chad Frankenfield threw it to the bottom in front. I don't think Jonathan Cutlip appreciated that, not one nary bit.
No, he did not. Look how much Nick Indelicato caught up to this 5 car. Yeah, Jonathan Cutlip cannot be happy about Chad Frankenfield doing that. Let's see if there's any displeasure shown. John's a pretty mellow guy. So no swipe at the 15 on the back straightaway.
And those are the things you remember later. Oh man, Jesse Racimas just pounded the outside wall coming out of turn 4. I'm not sure. It seems like he's gotten it back going now. Maybe he was stuck to the wall for a little bit. I was worried it was wheel damage because it was not getting back off the wall. But you could even see there on corner exit, even at reduced speed, how much that car did not want to turn. I definitely think even if it's not a meatball, he has hurt the handling of that 70 car with that impact.
Yeah, not what you want. You'd really want to stay out of the wall. You know, we obviously
it is a meatball.
Oh, and Jesse gets the delayed meatball too.
Well, no, I don't know if it was delayed. I needed to switch over to look, but it might have been there the whole time.
He has to come down pit road within 3 laps or he will be disqualified.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's tough break for Jesse Racimas here. He will lose what a pretty solid top 15 run based on smacking the outside wall with the right front. Battle here between Rogers and Green. That one's been ongoing for the last 100 laps or so. And Gavin Hibbs back into the top 10 going around Justin Wadsworth, but they are still fighting for that spot. And Racimas getting on pit road. He came back up on the racetrack almost in front of traffic, but he does get to pit road safely.
Meanwhile, another guy that's having to work his way through the field, Ryan Gable, I believe, just may have picked up another spot in his drive forward. Indeed, he did. He got around. That's Gerald Campbell to pick up the 18th position for the driver of the 01.
That is indeed what Ryan Gable has done. He is really coming back nicely. 19th really isn't a bad spot for him to be, given that he was right on the back end of the top 10. After how hard he hit the inside wall with the left side of that car. We've seen guys meatballed for less, I think, today than what Ryan Gable had done to that 0-1 car. So he would see if Gable can make up some ground here and get after Justin Fortner and Ty McIntosh up in front of him.
I think the battle brewing closest to the front of the field right now is around, right there. Ethan Stanley, David Tooker lost a lot of ground. Of course, I say that, and Tooker lost probably 2 car lengths out of turn 2 that time, but he is definitely sizing up that 91 car and trying to figure out a way around, or at least he was before I decided to open my big fat mouth.
The announcer power of Jinx. It's not as bad as that one season where every time I talked about anyone, they just immediately wrecked, but it's 23A, I think. My last season announcing before last year, I had some kind of power over everybody, but you look at RC Anderson there behind David Tooker as we do jump to the battle between Wadsworth and Rogers. Rogers gets loose on the bottom. Wadsworth remains in 10th. RC Anderson, I think, has every shot right here to get up and jump back into the top 5. I think that 50 car's got the pace. He's definitely making ground up on the guys in front of him right now. It's just a matter of time for him to make these passes. And the tough part is going to be getting around the likes of David Tooker and Ethan Stanley to get into the top 5. But it is a remarkable recovery drive for a guy that got shoved into a speeding penalty on pit road in RC Anderson. Did no fault of his own, and here he is up top going around David Tooker, and Tooker lets the 50 car by up to 6th for RC Anderson.
You know, there's a saying in the racing world: if you can't win, be spectacular. No doubt RC Anderson's drive tonight has been spectacular.
Yeah, it's a really good recovery drive in a car that a lot of people are saying tough to pass, can't drive in traffic. RC's driven in traffic all night long, and here he is up in 6th, the clean number 50 car. Every shot to win and take maybe a teensy ounce of momentum into Watkins Glen this weekend.
Maybe a teensy bit. Maybe like 0.1%.
I was gonna give him like 2%.
You're gonna, okay. That's, you know what? That's fine. Look,
He'll feel good. He'll feel good about it.
A good run is a good run. It absolutely builds confidence. That's about all it's gonna do. Carrying a pixel car at Dover into a real car at Watkins Glen. But vibes are important.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it the kids are saying now? Very demure, very mindful. I don't know, man.
He got a very demure, very mindful into the Elite Racing Network broadcast. That's remarkable effort right there by Zach Evans, our announcer, folks. We're relating to the children these days.
I tried to keep up with the lingo, so I am hip.
I don't think hip's lingo though.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Battle. Oh, Nick and
no.
trying to wad up just Jonathan Cutlip here for the 8th position, just in front of Zach Rogers and Justin Watts, where this is a big battle right at the back end of the top 10. Bunch of guys that I would say need a good run, at least for Cutlip and Indelicato. Those two really need to have a good run. Oh, Wadsworth, did he hit the wall or did he get loose there off turn 4?
I'm not sure, but definitely lost a ton of ground, whatever happened.
I think he got loose coming off a corner exit on turn 4 and loses some ground to this battle for 10th. Really, it's a battle for 8th. Cutlip has it. Indelicato wants it. Rogers waiting in the wings. Here comes Indelicato to the inside once again. Indelicato loose on the bottom of the track. That might open the door for Rogers. No. Indelicato slams up the racetrack and prevents that one car from getting alongside.
Definitely some hard racing here, and I think probably at the very back of this camera shot here, yeah, Jesse Racimus. Now remember, he oh, big moment here.
Oh, yo! Indelicato almost wrecks. Wadsworth will go by the 10. Racimus is coming up on this, probably a little concerned with the fresh tires on the 70 car, and these guys got to let Racimus go by. But yeah, big moment between Cutlip and Indelicato. It ultimately costs Indelicato the most ground, and Zach Rogers up into 8th for the 1 car.
Well, that's what I was going to lead into. Jesse Racimus with those fresh tires was about to catch these guys mid-battle. Instead, he almost caught them mid-wreck. Somehow, everybody threw it. But things escalated quickly for Jesse Racimus just trying to mind his own business.
It really got out of hand fast. Got an Anchorman quote there, too. There you go. We're really getting it all here on the Elite Racing Network tonight at Dover. It'd be nice if somebody had gotten up there and battled Ethan Burrell.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's all Anchorman quotes and demure.
Nobody has had anything for that 37 car. RC Enerson, maybe, if it weren't for the speeding penalty. Obviously, he was up front some early in the night. I think it would have been interesting to see how that battle would have looked. But with him having to drive his way through the field, it's got to take a late caution now that he's in that top, that he'd be able to restart in these first 3 rows, I think, for RC to really throw his hat in the ring.
Ethan is currently encountering some lap traffic. And if you'll notice, our timing and scoring pylon to the left of your screen and the scoring Dave's showing on the bottom of the racetrack, Matthew Weeks is eating into the lead of Ethan Burrell now. That is in very large part due to the fact that Burrell's clean air is now gone. He's forced into the air of the lapped race cars in front of him. Currently, it's Chris Wright. That will, I think, stabilize once Weeks gets a little bit closer. But Burrell is encountering dirty air for maybe the first time today, and yeah, that's definitely hindering the pace of this 37 car. But Matthew Weeks is also going to have to get around the same drivers Ethan Burrell is encountering.
Indeed, but I think there's a couple of things here to keep in mind. One is Ethan Burrell seeing that advantage and managing the tires a little bit to make sure he has something if we do stay green the rest of the way. The other thing is we're kind of reaching that point. I don't want to put the bad vibes out there, but this is roughly the point in the run where we start to really see these cars get incredibly out of shape. We're not out of the woods yet on a caution.
No, we are not. Battle back here for the 13th position between Jordan Owens and Jeff Green. I bring it up because Jordan Owens has had a really, really good start to the season, and I at risk of jinxing this number 16 car, I don't know, Dave, do we have the points? Because I know Jordan is in our current playoff before the race tonight. I'm not entirely sure how high up, but even after a race at Watkins Glen, Jordan Owens in this 16 has had a really strong start to the season. There he is, P11 in points right now. Nick Massey did not start this race. Chad Frankenfield wrecked, multiple laps down. Scott Crump up in front of him, wrecked, multiple laps down. Owens is going to pick up some points. He might be in the top 10 in points tonight if this holds up, and he's got very good long run pace right now. This 16 car is flying forward. You see him going after Gavin Hibbs right now. That is a battle for 12th spot, and give it to Jordan Owens, man. He has had a great start to the season. He's having a great run tonight. He's showing long run pace in this next gen car. Awesome to see for Jordan Owens, who won our kind of pre-clash shootout event at Daytona, at Old Daytona, that Zach and I broadcasted a few months ago.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Give a shout to Jordan Owens and the start he has had to this season. I mean, looking at the stats a little bit for this year, as you were talking about them, he's had, the 5th place finish at Texas. He's been knocking on the door of the top 10 several times this season for a guy that going into this season had been around a long time, but only had, if I'm looking at the numbers correctly, 4 top 10 finishes to show for it. So really flexing his muscle, Jordan Owens, this season.
Yeah, just a great run, great start to the season for him. And RC gave back 5th, or 7th, or 6th rather. 50 car, is it going away, or did he get the wall? That's the question here. I'm looking back.
Whatever the case may be, we'll see what report we get back from David on that. But as you can see here, David Tooker, Ethan Stanley, pesky old Tyler Fode just in front of them as they make their way around Chris Wright.
Yeah, so RC's car is just starting to give up on the tires, I think. He might have overcooked them a little bit. It seems like that car is just slowing down a little bit. Unfortunate for RC, wasn't able to stay in rhythm and up in the front with the cleaner air, and it's ultimately going to cost him a lightly better run than he would have otherwise wanted. As now Zach Rogers is catching this 50 car. Rogers is pretty quick on these older tires as well. He's another car that's really starting to move forward.
Closing in on 20 laps to go as we look at Zach Rogers closing in on RC Enerson as they make their way around Chris Wright in that 9 car.
You see it right now on your screen. Jordan Owens got around Jonathan Cutlett for that 11th spot. 16 car on a rail right now. This battle is the tightest battle for the biggest group of cars on your screen. Justin Fortner going after Gavin Hibbs, Jeff Green, Ryan Gable, Corey Abbott all in tow. Gable, you didn't see it with our camera angle. Gable just gave a giant bump draft to Jeff Green going down the front straightaway at Dover. Fortner clears Gavin Hibbs.
And this is definitely the kind of situation, Ryan Gable's going to get up on the wheel. He's trying to make up as much ground as he can from his incident earlier tonight. He's not afraid to be aggressive. You talk about that bump draft. He's got to try to get to the inside Jeff Green here, and he's got to really chuck it in there and let it wash up the hill, run that diamond line. Can he clear Jeff Green?
He does.
Yes, he can. So that's got to be a spot earned for Ryan Gable.
That was a very impressive move by that 0-1 car, and it's another guy that kind of wish he had given him no run, no wreck there, and he might have been able to do something with that top 5, but unfortunately he's been involved in some stuff tonight, and a big part of maintaining these races is keeping that car clean. Gable unable to do that tonight. Going after Gavin Hibbs right here. He's probably going to throw it in deep into turn 3. He does, all the way to the bottom, uses that diamond line, and he powers off the corner. Another big pass by Ryan Gable.
Yeah, that's a lot of speed we're seeing from Ryan Gable. That's got to move him up to the 14th spot. Don't know. Justin Fortner's not too far up the road here with 17 laps to go, and he's in traffic.
Fortner is also going to be moving forward. He and Gable kind of go in the same direction. The guy going backward right now, it's that 5 car, Jonathan Cutlett. He is starting to fall back. The other guy that I foresee entering this race is actually RC Enerson. He's a good bit slower than the guys, Justin Wadsworth, Nick Indelicato, Jordan Owens. Yeah, that'd be the guy falling potentially back to this battle that I could see.
There you see RC Enerson on your screen running in the 8th position. And then, look at this. Tyler Fode, Ethan Stanley working their way around Ryan Schold as
Ryan Scholl goes a lap down.
And Fody, for the first time that all night that I can recall, gives up the top, and it's to teammate Ethan Stanley, the points leader, the one guy he needs to beat tonight, because Fody's second in points to Ethan Stanley. Stanley drives on by Tyler Fody with just a handful of laps to go. I think we're at 13 or 14 to go. David Tooker looking on, unable to capitalize on Tyler Fody getting passed by Ethan Stanley. And all this well behind Ethan Burrell. Matthew Weeks now 1.5 seconds off. Tate Lytle 2.5 seconds off. This battle is 4.5 seconds off the race lead. The Pro Edge trio has kept a stranglehold on the podium for the entirety of this race.
Indeed they have, and there you see Matthew Weeks running in that second position. Jesse Racimas hang out. Oh, here we go. This is Tyler Fody and David Tooker. That battle continues. For the 5th position, they're going to go around Kyle Hanshaw in that 46 machine.
And don't look now, but there's Zach Rogers right there in the red and white Jim Beam, Robbie Gordon throwback car. In that one car, he is catching these two in a hurry. And behind them, Justin Wadsworth is quickly coming up on R.C. Anderson. So a couple of battles within the top 10 about to take place. As here comes David Tooker underneath Tyler Fody. It's not a move that's worked for anyone else. It might just work for Tooker, though.
He's got to try to make it work because he sees that one car getting bigger and bigger in the mirror. He's got to do something, or the one car's got to be both of their problem in trying to work his way into the top 5.
Zach Rogers working with a really strong long run finish to this race. Definitely needs a shout out for that Mountain Man Motorsports Chevrolet. Just a strong run by Zach Rogers, and he's been clean all night. He's really kept that car in a spot that he can actually, get up here and make a move on the top 5 potentially. Is Rucker sideways in front of these guys. Stanley just took him 3 wide, and Tooker sends Fody off into turn 3. Rucker on the apron. Hosak's up top here. Fody's got to dodge him. They're 3 wide. Everyone gets through all right for now. It gets tight around here at Dover.
Boy, it got tight in a hurry, but here comes Zach Rogers. He's got to try to work that high side, couldn't get alongside David Tooker there.
Wadsworth got by R.C. Anderson. Dave jumped to it just as we saw it. Wadsworth slid up in front of R.C. Anderson loose. And Justin Wadsworth up into 8th. And Delicato hunting for 9th. I think Jordan Owens is going to be too far back to capitalize and jump into the top 10. R.C. sliding back, and Delicato is going to be the guy that can get after him for that 9th spot. That battle sorts itself. Here comes David Tooker and Zach Rogers once again after Tyler Fody.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the struggle for everyone tonight. Can you get around that 40 car? David Tooker has been one of the drivers trying to do it all night long, and now add Zach Rogers to the mix. It's now his problem as well. We've seen how quickly he was able to catch this group, but catching cars and passing cars, 2 different things. There you
Yeah, a bunch of flat tires in the last couple of laps. I saw Gerald Campbell drop off the racetrack. We saw Andrew Rucker drop off the racetrack. So those are flat tires these guys are running into. I wonder about maybe R.C. Anderson, who just got bypassed by Indelicato. His tires seem to be going away. I wonder about Cutlip, who's back in 14th. His tires have gone away really badly.
Chris Stouffer just came down pit road, and I believe that was a similar situation.
Yep, Stouffer goes down. Ty McIntosh is falling back a lot. Ty's on pit road now. Yeah, a lot of guys burning their tires so far off that they've worn them completely through.
Ray Bracey has a flat tire.
Oh, no. And that car was damaged earlier in the event, as here comes Tooker to the inside of...
Yep. Can he clear him?
Yeah, Tooker's going to clear Tyler Fody. Tyler Fody might be in danger of losing a tire here with 4 laps to go.
Boy, that would
Tate
be a tough break.
Lytle's getting second. Away from Matthew Weeks right here, right in front of Ray Bracey coming down the road.
Matthew Weeks hung up a little bit in the traffic there. It looked like Tate Lytle able to get by.
A lot of guys are coming on pit road.
Mark
At the
Revelas
wall.
almost caught the wall out of 4 that time, and he has a meatball. Not sure what the chicken and egg on that is, but
Could be the wall, could be the flat tire. Yep, and
Right.
He's right in front. He's right in front of some of our leaders here. As Tooker and Rogers go around him, Weeks is going to get passed by Stanley. I wonder if Weeks is going to have a flat tire soon. 2 laps to go, and it's almost like a fuel finish with everybody running out of.
Right. We're not sure who's going to make. I mean, certainly, I think Ethan Burrell's in good shape, but who knows behind him?
Yep. Stanley seems okay. It seems like Tyler Fode might be and Matthew Weeks might be the ones in danger of losing out here. Cutlip's okay. Hibbs seems to be all right back here. I'm just trying to look and see.
Rogers and Tooker, that's a battle for 5th. Side by side across the line, 1 lap to go.
One lap to go.
White flag.
Yep. White flag is out, and they have caught
Weeks.
Matthew Weeks. Yeah, Matthew Weeks is really fading. Both cars will get around the 11 of Weeks trying to nurse it to the finish. The Lake Norman cars might get around Matthew Weeks as well. Off turn 4, Ethan Burrell salvages everything. He leads every lap from the drop. Ethan Burrell will win at Dover. Tate Lytle will take home 2nd. Ethan Stanley takes 3rd. For 4th, it will be David Tooker over Zach Rogers. Tyler Fode finishes in 6th. Weeks will get 7th. Wadsworth will finish 8th. And a crazy finish to this race as guys are blowing their tires and losing tons and tons of time. At the end of the day, Ethan Burrell was the one constant in this race. He leads every lap. And I think, what's that, the 2nd race in a row that someone led? I guess Ethan Stanley didn't lead every lap, but yeah, 2 weeks in a row where the battle was not for 1st. And another Ethan win this season, might I add. That's 5 of 6.
Yet another Ethan win here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series this season. Those Ethan Burrell, Ethan Stanley have been the guys to beat. That continued here tonight at the Monster Mile.
And we'll talk to both of them. Ethan Stanley finishes 3rd. He will be on the podium. Ultimately, Matthew Weeks' tire woes late in this race knock him out of the podium and prevent the Pro Edge sweep, but they do sweep the 1-2, and they get 4th with David Tooker. What a wild finish. Just by my count, I see Rebelas, Hanshaw, Robin, Campbell, Rucker, McIntosh, Stouffer, Hosack, Bracey, Racimus, DeWaltz, Dewar, all had tire issues late in that one. That's 10 of our drivers with tire issues slowing up on the racetrack and whatnot.
Yeah, it was definitely, it got really hectic there at the end with all those tire issues. That was probably our longest green flag run of the night. You know how hard guys were pushing early on in that run, and it definitely threw a wrench into things here at the end as we look at the results.
Yep. As we quickly clip through the results, Jordan Owens P11, another really strong run for Jordan Owens. Ryan Gable's recovery drive takes him to 13th. RC's takes him to 10th. Justin Fortner, strong run, and Richie Hearn up to P14 with all that. If we go one more page, also Brent Jones P20. Really strong night for Brent after saving the tires and not being one of those guys that ran into issues on that last run. We get a look at all the rest of the results that occurred in this race tonight, and we'll bring up Ethan Stanley and talk to our 3rd place finisher as well. Ethan is David in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, man. Looked like you guys were a step behind those Pro Edge boys up until that last couple of laps when you got around the 11 car. Your winning streak comes to an end, but a 3rd place finish being the negative on a really good season so far seems to be pretty good. What else could you have done out there to have gotten this one in victory lane?
Maybe qualified on pole. It seemed like clean air really helped Ethan. I mean, he was quick regardless. Yeah, I think he would have won anyway, but clean air definitely helped. Just dirty air upset the car, made it loose, made it tight, whatever. Just depending on how you drive it. It was tough.
Certainly at the end of the race, we saw a lot of guys with tire wear issues. Were you concerned at all at that point, or did you feel you had pretty good grasp on your situation in the closing laps?
I was a little bit worried about it blowing up, but I felt like I had more tire than everybody around, so I just had to push at the end, not worry too much. And it seemed to pay off. If I would have been able to get around Fode earlier, I think I could have at least gotten 2nd.
Yeah, Ethan, and we talk to you just about every week this season with regard to that. I mean, I usually ask about a plan going forward, but Bristol's next week. Do you expect a similar like tire issue if we do happen to get some green flag laps in at Bristol like this, or do you think the concrete track to concrete track Bristol won't be nearly as tough on the tires?
Bristol will be tough on the tires. I don't know if we'll be able to go green long enough for that, but
Yeah.
if we do, we might have to run into some tire issues. I'm honestly really happy with the way I ran this race. I kind of hate this track, so third is more than I could ask for.
Before we let you go, Ethan, who do you have to thank on this podium finish?
As always, big shout out to Blue Egg Marketing for being the sponsor on the car. JD Designs for painting these beautiful paints. Guys at Lake Norman, we had a pretty decent run today. Just not quite as good as the Pro Edge guys, but we'll come back next week. Big shout out to you guys in the booth for always putting on a good show, and of course, like Chad and everybody that runs the league as well.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, Ethan, and congratulations on the third place finish. We'll probably talk to you next week at Bristol, buddy.
That's the hope.
Ethan Stanley of the Ethan Racing League, continuing their dominance tonight. Let's talk to the only non-Ethan driver to have won a race this season. That's Tate Lytle. Tate, before we start on the race, congratulations on becoming a dad this last week, and congrats on the P2. Maybe just a little bit off of your buddy there, Ethan Burrell, but a really good night for you, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a weird race. I don't know if it was the air or what, but I felt like Ethan could kind of just go. He was a little braver to go to the outside than I was. The car was pretty on edge, and if it was the B car on edge, I'd feel fine. But for whatever reason, when this car is loose like that, I just don't have the confidence to be throwing it up there and getting that extra half a tenth a lap out of it. But P2 still good. Saved enough tires to get by Weeks there at the end. But yeah, I had nothing for Ethan. I don't know how far ahead of us he was, but it felt like a mile. But overall, second place, I'll take it. Kind of fell back in the points there. Didn't have internet 2 weeks ago at Darlington, and then obviously wasn't here last week. So good to get some points back in the standings. But shout out, I got a lot of shout outs. Shout out Grandma, Ethan's grandma Betty is watching. She's a big Pro Edge fan, so shout out Betty. Shout out my brother Jack. It's his second birthday today. So big day for him. Shout out to my dad and everyone else watching too, because he puts it on the TV, and he it's pretty cool that he watches just about every race he can. So. Lose my train of thought there, Dave. You're hot, Mike, but good race. Shout out Brent Wins. Days gone by, always on the car.
I expected you to run a DeWalt.
Yeah, I obviously had nothing for Ethan. I think second was about my ceiling, so I'll take it.
By the way, the banner thing, I knew.
You mentioned not having anything for Ethan.
PNG file, so I have to convert it myself to TGA.
With the strength we've seen from both of the Ethans so far this season, what is it going to take to kind of get yourself in the mix, so to speak, moving forward?
And when I put it on,
all you have to do is be good at Richmond with
I
this
just
format.
decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to run.
I don't know.
And so I didn't realize what the rule was.
I don't know. I feel like I'm right there. It doesn't take a whole lot, and I shouldn't say it doesn't take a whole lot, because it takes a lot to get there. But like when you're right there, it only takes a little bit for it to work in your favor. So if I could keep hanging around second and third, I don't mind being the underdog. If I'm the underdog going into the championship race,
for somebody
hell yeah.
They could probably work with you to get that sorted out.
We got you, Tate. And any further shout outs there before we send you off, or did you clear everybody out there?
Fun race, obviously.
I'll give a second shout out to brother Jack. Second birthday. Louise is probably loving it too. So shout out you guys.
I can't believe how competitive it is as far as
still listening.
That are
yeah,
skillful,
pretty
so.
Fun race. Glad it went fairly caution free. I don't know how many cautions we had, but maybe 2 or 3. I was waiting for it there at the end. People were dropping like flies. Weeks popped a tire, and if Weeks popped a tire, I knew I was going to be close too. So yeah, it was war of attrition, but 80 laps at Dover will do that on the right front. So
that's why you're going to see that.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations on second place tonight, Tate. And, go have some fun.
There's always 1 or 2 guys at the top that just kind of break away, but
now we'll grab race winner Ethan Burrell.
So,
and
like
Ethan,
me,
congratulations on another race win. You're second of the season now, and the Ethan Racing League joke's starting to get a little old, but you guys just keep winning. What'd you have for him tonight that nobody else did?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, the clean air was huge. I was
And,
really upset with
I
RC
mean,
because
every
he
point
beat me by
matters.
like 8 thousandths. I really wanted the pole start. So there's
Yeah, I
two
totally-
races
I
where
totally hear you.
Ethan's weren't on
And
pole,
I realize
and both of them I
most
started
race,
second by like
you know,
100th.
I've already missed enough races where
But he,
points aren't really
I don't know
a
if
big
he
deal
spun
for
the
me,
tires
so
on
I
the
get
start or
that.
what, but I just got out in the clean air and
yeah,
I could
I'll
tell
make
it was
sure
going
I
to be
do a better job.
important. The car was a little snug, but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean, we all make aggressive
But the
moves.
dirty air
It's
was terrible.
like
Like
I
even
said,
when I was going around
in
lappers
your
and stuff.
situation, it's gonna get
So
called out worse
just maintaining the
because it's only
clean air
second
really,
race, so you gotta go run
and
in
then
the
like
playoffs.
I'd say I'd run the
So you'll
bottom for
see
like
that,
20
I mean,
laps or
but
so, and then I'd
to me,
start
I think it's
moving up to the
fine.
top
That's what it
and
is.
just getting those straight exits out of the corner. It was really balancing out the tire wear, and I really wasn't hurting my right front as bad as other people were.
I mean, obviously, class of the field tonight. You mentioned that tire wear. I'm sure you were able to manage that out front, but when you started seeing everybody dropping like flies in those last few laps, were there still maybe just a little bit of concern?
Oh yeah, the last few laps I was terrified because I heard a bunch of people a bunch of people were blowing tires and stuff, but then so that made me nervous, mostly just for a caution. I felt like my tires were okay, but once like Weeks was telling me that his tires were going away and he was really falling off, and then all of a sudden he had a right front go down. I got really scared once he fell because I mean he's one of the best at saving the tires. So once he had a problem, I was really nervous there, like the last 4 or 5 laps. But so I really backed up the pace just in case something crazy happened. But no, most of the race, I either had him or RC or Tate kind of right behind me, so I wasn't really noticing the gap that we were building. So I might have backed off more and tried to save more. But either way, though, it worked out great.
Yeah, Ethan, and as you are starting to kind of push towards thinking about the playoffs, keep winning races, is there anything you can do to, hunt down this gap Stanley's got on you, or just, keep doing what you're doing, keep hoping that it's Ethan versus Ethan, and I don't know what your plan could potentially be, especially considering next week's Bristol and it's another concrete track. You guys are probably going to be good again. Are we going to get green flag runs too, or is it just going to be one of them Bristol races where we're in the booth for 30 cautions?
Yeah, I sure hope we get some good runs there. I do have some faith, and at least early in the race, we might all be kind of nervous and really tiptoeing around, and hopefully get some good runs in. But yeah, as far as the points gap, it's the race that I lagged out at Pocono really hurt me because that took up my drop week, and then the week before that, I got a P29 at Texas from crashing. So the only real thing I could hope for is that Stanley would have a bad race, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I mean, I don't think I don't know the stats, but I bet he hasn't even finished outside the top 10 yet. So I don't know if there's much I can do about his points lead. I think the best I can do is just keep showing up and running fast and trying to win.
Before we let you go, Ethan, let's get those shout outs on tonight's victory here at Dover.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out you guys for always putting on a great broadcast for us. I really appreciate it, and I know all the guys do. Chad for dealing with everything he deals with, and doing it pretty darn well, if I had to say. Off the track. I'm not talking about on the track. Off the track. But shout out to Betty and Austin for watching. My wife Rachel for always supporting what I do on here. Nerding out with my buddies, all the guys at Pro Edge, and huge shout out to Kurt Gibson. He tunes into basically every elite race that we run, and he recently lost his father. I don't know, a week or two ago. So big shout out to him. Some of us had a sticker on our car tonight representing for him, but yeah, we're thinking about you, Kurt. Happy to get a checkered flag for you, buddy, and I'm gonna go celebrate with the boys.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the race win, Ethan, and we'll catch you next week at Bristol, buddy.
All right, sounds good, guys. Hope I'm talking to you.
Alrighty, we'll see Ethan Burrell and everyone else next week at Bristol for 500 laps around the last great Coliseum. Zach, any final thoughts here on this continued Ethan dominance?
Well, first off, I would be remiss if I didn't mention we're off next week, Dave.
Oh, okay. 2 weeks.
2 weeks before we need the week off before 500 laps at Bristol for sure. But no, I think certainly if there's a chance to shake up the status quo, right? It's 500 laps at the last great Coliseum. We've talked about how dominant the Ethans have been this season, but anything can happen at that place over the course of 500 laps. It'll be interesting to see what does unfold in 2 weeks' time in Thunder Valley.
For sure. So, for everyone at Belly Up Sports, for Dave Huckleberry, and Zach Evans, and David Westergreen, this has been the Elite Racing Network. We'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. And if you're looking for the next Elite Racing Network race, I believe that's tomorrow night for IndyCar. We will see you guys in 2 weeks in Bristol. Everyone have a good night.